Wasn't me.
I started drinking it last week because I was out of bourbon. I wanted to mix.
No, it's not. This fucking. Do it. Hello, Mr. Jeremy.
Ma.
Have focus.
You're off. Yeah, you cut off.
Oh,
Now you're open.
hello.
Hello.
Yes.
I want to be able to hear somebody in my ear. That's all.
Yeah, you get that.
I'm in your ear,
I
Ryan.
always need to hear somebody in my ear. The single shot?
You're
No.
not. Just don't go past your speaker boxes.
Yeah,
we can
that's
see
the virtual wall.
We can see the reflection on it.
What would you charge for like rent in one of those speaker boxes?
Oh, like seriously, have you seen these things?
Ken could have been sleeping in the futon in the back. I have no idea.
We could have put the futon in the box in the back, apparently.
There's no shower.
I don't sit that close. I don't sit that close to you.
Told you not to tear the holy water thing out.
You got a lot of boxes around you.
Almost like me.
Just building
Mine are low profile.
Jim's building.
I
fort.
agree. I think the shot looks crooked, but it's not. Why
Or
is that?
kick-ass.
I think it's the TV.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's fine. Okay.
You can tell the
I'm
TV's
looking
crooked.
at it now.
You just uncrooked the TV.
Nah, I want to leave it like that.
And now I'm off
All
center.
right, Jeremy's got that and that. Josh is, of course, late. So
He's online. I
no,
saw
I
him.
just meant with his pick.
Oh.
That's okay. Sometimes I don't put him at all. But it's not okay for him because I told him to.
Great, we're gonna have a Josh hand in the back, or a Jim hand.
Wrong finger, Jim.
No, it's the right one.
Okay, good. I was worried there.
We have no shower here, Knight Rider, because of that. That way nobody can move in.
Why would you have a problem with that, though?
Buddy.
A bucket of what?
Well, we
Oh.
had that lake outside.
That's true. It started to form again today. I had to go clear out that drain again. I need to figure out a longer term problem than paint roller on a piece of PVC pipe.
Thermite.
And that would open up the whole
Drop her
war.
down there and
That's true. I would get the point across. Oh.
Booyah.
Yeah, it wasn't level.
I can tell
mean,
crooked,
It's
probably.
unrelated.
you gotta keep them unrelated.
Oh, so
Yeah,
let me
yeah,
tell
you do.
this. Let me tell this story. This is an
Am
interesting
at North
story.
Ranger? I thought those
I
were
don't-
elephant baby
Did
wipes.
I tell you this yet? I did. We were talking about
I
this
don't
today.
know. You haven't told me.
The sex offender story.
Yeah.
I was looking at a lot for sale in a neighborhood to build a house, and it was a nice lot, and it hadn't been sold. And I thought it was odd. It was like the last lot in this particular segment. And I talked to a real estate agent, and she said, "Yeah, I talked to the listing agent, and there's a funny story about this one." And I said, "Yeah, what is it?" She's like, "Registered sex offender lives next door to this lot." And I was like, okay, got it.
So is this like pissing in public when
Nope.
you're drunk?
No,
or
no,
like
no.
diddling
This is
little
child
boys?
pornography, 4 counts, 3-year-old, 3-year-old, 2-year-old, 2-year-old.
Oh.
Ick.
And I was like, yeah, I probably wouldn't move there either. But what I will say is that information source doesn't tell you how long ago it was or whatever. Like it could have been a year ago, it could have been 20 years ago.
I don't think it matters.
Yeah, I try to be a person who believes in second.
Well,
Chances.
yeah, but we're talking 5th chance from what you said.
Yeah, well, I mean, they only got
Yeah.
caught once. But the real estate agent was like, there is a chance, like the listing, the seller has been doing this research on like if he can take a portion of his lot and designate it as a public park, and then it would force them to move because you can't be within a certain yardage of like public parks and schools and all that type of stuff. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to be involved in that process or the legality of that. I'm good, thanks. I'll find a different spot.
That actually happened
So
at my last house.
you're looking for another place to build a house.
Another one? What do you mean?
But didn't you just
Like
buy one like
2006.
10 years ago?
I moved into my current house in 2005.
Wow.
Yeah.
People do move.
Yeah, I
I mean, it's
moved
been
mine
13
in
years.
That
2003.
just strikes me as weird.
Yeah, 2005 I've lived there.
Wow.
June 2005. So it's been exactly 13 years. So, all right. Let's see.
Some people like to move. Some people
Oh
look
no,
like me.
no. I don't like to move. Let's be very clear here. The process of moving
Sucks.
sucks a lot. Yeah. I would enjoy the process of being somewhere else. The result of that maybe, but we'll see.
Yeah. Well, all right then. I need an orange background. Otherwise, I'm going to turn white. Wait, never mind.
I mean, I can make it orange.
There you go.
Sure
could. Now it's super orange. Orange.
Oh, there's no reset on this. There it is.
Searching tiny parks.
This is the world's smallest park, dedicated in 1948 as the only colony for leprechauns west of Ireland.
Austin?
Yeah, where's that at?
I don't know. I have to click the link again. North Ranger put it in the chat. It is in loading. Portland.
Oh yeah, no, I've been there. I checked in there
okay.
on Foursquare.
That park.
Yeah.
Mills End Park. I mean, Portland
I
is
didn't know
the
you were part
Austin of the
leprechaun.
West,
Yeah.
right?
If not worse.
Yeah. All right, everybody good to go?
Mm.
We have a laptop.
We don't need any laptops.
Yep, we
have
do.
a rundown. Rundown looks legit.
Got the
doesn't it?
date there. All that stuff.
This is going too well.
Yeah, something's gonna go wrong here.
Everything goes wrong.
All right, shall we?
Yep.
Good. 3, 2. Hey everybody, welcome to the PC Perspective Podcast. This is episode 503, being recorded on June 13th, 2018. I'm Ryan Shrout.
I'm Jeremy Hellstrom. I'm Josh Wall. Wrath.
And I'm Ken Addison.
I do want to say, Alex, I appreciate that you putting the date in the rundown next to the camera now.
Ruins everything.
It prevents me.
No, the fact it's the right date ruins everything.
That's true. Yeah, I would have said anything in there. Also, I'm guessing this isn't the first week you've done that.
No, it's not.
It's probably the first time I've noticed it, though. Right?
No, we first did it because you couldn't remember what it was, and then you're like, "Oh, it's right there on the rundown."
Have I said this before?
Yes,
yeah, I
you
don't
have.
remember that.
We have it on.
Well, we'll
we
take
have it
that
on
for
video.
what it is. Welcome to the show, everybody. It's Wednesday night. We record this live at pcper.com/live. Wednesdays, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. We talk about PC hardware and computer technology and all the things that are on that rundown over there. We'll talk about.
No one ever gets
And
that
more.
right.
And more. It's very difficult. Stage left.
Right.
Correct. So, like I said, we're recording it live. If you need a little reminder, if you want to hang out with us in the chat and stuff, you can go to pcper.com/subscribe. Gives you this page here that asks for your name, your email address, and we'll send you a notification usually an hour or 2 hours ahead of when we actually record the event. Gives you time to, get your dinner ready, clean up the dishes, put the dogs. I was gonna say, I was mixing up putting the kids to sleep and putting the dogs out.
to sleep.
I was gonna say put the dogs to sleep.
No.
Don't do that. The show's not worth that much to us, really. Save the dogs, put the kids to bed, let the
kids
dogs
to
outside, and trust me, it'll all be fine. Do that thing we said. We still have our Patreon campaign running. That is at patreon.com/PCper. This is your outlet if you wish to be a monthly contributor to the website, like a direct financial monetary contributor. It could be $1 a month, it could be $3, $5, $10, $20, $100 a month, whatever you want it to be, and it goes directly to us to create this content. So if you run an ad block on the site, or you think Josh looks particularly enticing this evening, you can just become a patron for that. And as is always the case, if you become a patron while we record, or increase your patronage during the recording, I will call out your name and give you a shout out on the podcast in appreciation,
What could go?
if you will. Nothing could go wrong. Part of what
Do you know?
maybe
Probably not.
I actually bought from Teespring JoshTech.com products.
I could have given you a coupon code if you had just
I
asked.
don't care. I just
what did you get? You didn't get them in yet, apparently. Otherwise, they'd be clearly
No.
within arm's
I thought,
reach.
yeah, it would be the larger canvas print and a mug.
Are you going to replace or put it next to the picture
fam?
behind your head? Yeah,
Sure, why not?
yeah. I think that needs to be there.
Should be in the
Yeah.
background.
We should probably
Yeah.
hang one behind us somewhere, but we got this annoying TV and the set and stuff in the way.
Ugh, this annoying set.
We could put
What's the shipping like to Canada on that thing?
I've never looked.
Economical.
Surprisingly.
I don't know.
Surprisingly, I've never looked. I don't know. One of the things that is enabled by that Patreon campaign is the PC Per mailbag. Episode 47 has gone up here, June 8th. We did have a request here for RSS of this, and we have two options. Only one that I really feel like taking the effort through of doing. So really, we have one option. And I think what we're going to do is, unless anybody listening to this podcast wants to email me or tweet at me specific complaints against the idea, we will probably make the PC Per mailbag part of the PC Perspective podcast RSS feed. So you would get your podcast on Thursday and a mailbag on Friday. The mailbags, are 15 to 20 minutes. It's not like we're going to put something in there every day. It's easily skippable. I think that will be fine for most people. I don't imagine that we have the curmudgeon-y type ones. Like, don't put an extra file on my smartphone every week. But I
Those
don't know.
data plans, man. That
Oh,
10
not you
10
too as well.
names that podcast or that audio file is going to be.
So I think that's what we'll do. I think that's what we're going to do. Unless, anybody has any
Maybe we've already done
specifically
it.
negative feedback. It's unlikely we've done it, but maybe. You never know. And then do I not have, there it is.
As the aforementioned,
Oh, before the merch store, before our merch
Oh.
mention, which Josh precluded the merch mention with his own
I'm
merch
sorry, I
mention.
can't read the rundown because I'm stupid.
Understood. No, it's fine. And the rundown it's not accurate anyway, because we have one in between mailbag and merch to begin with. It is the promotion of a live stream we're having on Tuesday with AMD. AMD is coming out here to talk about FreeSync, to talk about FreeSync on TVs, to talk about HDR implementations of FreeSync, and they're actually going to announce some stuff, like not necessarily like brand new products or whatever, but some shifts in the direction and how things are going to work with FreeSync. So I think you'll want to be paying attention, not only for the great information, the particularly awesome hosting that I will be doing of Antal, who will be in town to talk with us, but also we're going to have some prizes. Right now we have one lined up, which is a Pixio PX277. It's 25 by 1444 hertz VA.
Look at the bezels.
Nice.
FreeSync panel. I think it's like a $399 MSRP. We're going to give one of those away, and we're trying to get another set of options here. So again, it's going to be Tuesday, June 19th, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. And again, if you want a reminder for that, I'm going to send an email out probably tomorrow or Friday to the PC Per Live mailing list. Hey, here's this thing. It's going to have prizes. You're going to want to put this on your calendar. And then obviously if you can't watch it live, we'll have it on demand for you after the fact as well. And if you have questions for AMD about FreeSync, about FreeSync technology, or whatever else, kind of tertiary subjects to that, leave them in the comments of this post. Leave them in the comments of this post on PCPer.com, so we can ask them. We've got a couple of them in there. Also, one correction to a typo on the page, which was my fault. But yes, AMD will be there to talk FreeSync. It's going to be awesome. So let's do that. And now, merch.
If only more people would embrace FreeSync, I could have cheaper, better monitors already.
It's true. It's true. And then, of course, we do have to mention the merch. We've got our PC Per t-shirts. This is all at joshtech.com, JOSHTEKK.com. There's a Teespring link, but I already forgot it. And you can get t-shirts. You can get mugs. You can get Josh Tech, Josh Walrus posters as he holds a steering wheel.
Yeah.
Did you show this to your wife yet?
Yes, she wants a shirt.
That's fantastic. That is fantastic. All right. Let's get into the stuff because there's a lot to get to here. Computex is done, but we have some news items left over from last week. But we also have a lot of specific content to talk through. The first being another iteration of Intel NVMe RAID, not VROC.
Apparently not VROC, as I was corrected.
So VROC, for people who don't remember, is CPU attached solid state drive RAID on X299 chipset motherboards.
Yeah.
It was basically, instead of having to connect your M.2 SSDs through the chipset, you could directly attach them to the CPU, which is interesting because it requires some logic on the firmware CPU side to really be able to handle that. And you happen to come across a BIOS change guide for an Asus board?
Yeah, we were updating the BIOS on one of our Asus Z370 boards from some upcoming testing we were doing, and just like to be on the latest BIOS when we do that stuff. Normally, you kind of have the typical consumer experience. Yeah. And I saw a weird item in the patch notes that said support for RAID on CPU function in Z370 series, and went, well, that's not a thing. I wonder how that works. Yeah. And we started digging into it, and it's actually pretty fascinating. So I guess this is ROC, not VROC.
RAID on CPU, but it doesn't do the virtualization of.
Yeah, so apparently to be called VROC, the platform has to have these VMDs, these Intel Volume Management Devices, which it's like a intermediary layer that the SSDs connect through.
Okay.
And you can have multiple VMDs, and you actually see performance hit if you RAID across different VMDs. So if you have like 4 drives in X299 platform, if they're on different VMDs, you can see different performance penalties and stuff like that. Z370 doesn't have any of this, so it's a lot simpler implementation. You have RAID 0 and RAID 1, no RAID 5.
For the Z370 implementation here.
Which, if you remember back to the X299 stuff, you had to have a dongle to unlock RAID 5 and RAID 1.
Oh, sure. Right.
None of that here. You don't even have the ability to provide a dongle. So there's not a dongle port on these motherboards because it's kind of a new addition that was unexpected.
Now, what's interesting to me about this, or what was interesting to us about this, was that you could already do M.2 RAID on motherboards that had 2 M.2 slots, Z370, but they all went through the chipset. So you were limited by your peak theoretical throughput of what, 4 gigs a second, 3.8 gigs per second, or something like that.
Essentially a single by 4 link. So if you're rating 2x2 SSDs, like 2 Optane 800Ps, you wouldn't hit the bandwidth threshold. But if you're rating 2 970 EVOs, you would hit the bandwidth threshold pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And you would still see improvements to like IOPS, but you wouldn't necessarily see peak throughput.
Okay.
So
All right.
at lower Q depths, if you're running RAID 0 with 2 970 EVOs, you would see better performance, but you would still have that ceiling.
It's also worth noting that we did this discovery process, this testing process, without really any input from Intel, because we assumed it was something that, you know, ASUS did on their own, or kind of like, hey, we could kind of tweak this and get this working.
Honestly,
and we had not been communicated by Intel at all that this was a feature that was upcoming or something that would be coming, you know, to other Z370 boards. And it wasn't until after we published it, right, that we got any feedback. It's like, oh, hey, by the way, yeah, you know, you're calling it VROC. Don't call it VROC. It's actually Intel Rapid Storage Technology for CPU attached Intel PCIe storage.
rolls off the tongue.
It's just fine. They should have a good acronym for it. IRSTCAIPS. Somebody type that out and figure out what that happens to be. I think it might have craps in it, so maybe don't. That's probably not. Maybe they wouldn't do that way. So what's different about it? What are the limitations? Like what are the differences from what we've seen in before?
Primarily, it's difficult to hook multiple SSDs up to PCI Express CPU-connected PCI Express lanes on Z370 because, as you remember, you only have 16 lanes of PCI Express for this.
Oh, sure.
So if you go for a normal configuration, you have your GPU in the primary top slot running at by 16, and then there you go, right? You don't really have anything else. Now, these platforms do support SLI, so you could do a by 8 configuration.
So it gives you 2x4s for
and
each.
if you use a Ryza card like the one we're showing in the review here, you can bifurcate, assuming the motherboard supports it, and kind of break that by 8 link into 2x4 links.
Okay.
Which will allow you to get 2 SSDs. We are actually having some problem getting that working with a GPU with the primary slot and the 2 SSDs in the secondary slot. We're having 1 SSD only link at by 1. It was just kind of a weird bug. So what we did is we moved to integrated graphics.
Okay.
So we put this Hyper M.2, this bifurcation card, in the primary PCI Express slot. So we had all of the lanes.
Got it.
And then we kind of ran our testing. It still seems to be limited to 2 drives, even if you have the available lanes. Like we had 16 lanes available, but we could still only get 2 drives. And they had to be in this really weird configuration. So if you look at the card, the bottommost port is port 1 going up to port 4 towards the top of the card. It had to be in 1 and 3, which is strange, but this is documented in the motherboard manual as like, oh, if you want to use this card, this configuration you have to use it in, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Is that some sort of weird interaction between PLX and the Ryzer board?
Well, there's no PLX happening here. It just, I don't know. It doesn't. Thanks, Alexa.
Alexa, you are great.
Other limitations involve you can only use Intel SSDs.
Was that's still the case with VROC, right?
Or
did they get
kind of
past
sort of? We've like, I think bootable you could only do Intel SSDs on VROC. We've
That's
definitely had
Yeah.
non-Intel SSDs working at some capacity on VROC.
Got it.
And
That's a pity because our ST would work with any SSD.
Yes.
yeah, the chipset RAID would work with any SSD. I swear that when we first tried this probably a month ago at this point, we had Samsung drives working, not bootable, but I could not replicate it at all. So kind of left out of the review. It really doesn't seem to be supported in this configuration.
Yeah.
So you have Intel drives only, which if you think about Intel's current M.2 SSD lineup, limits you kind of on the bandwidth side because they don't have they have one sort of M.2 drive that takes advantage of a by-4 interface and has one, the 760p. As it turns out, we didn't have 2 matching capacity 760ps in the office. So we just kind of went with the 2 32 gig
The 2 Optane
memory modules.
Yeah.
Trying to see peak performance out of this. Obviously, you won't get the peak bandwidth, but you'll see the latency effects because these are super low latency Optane drives. So we went ahead and created RAID 0 volume, and then we pitted it against the chipset RAID and also AMD's sort of CPU attached NVMe RAID on X470, which we took a look at back when X470 came out a couple of months ago.
Okay.
And the results are interesting. So if you go ahead and look, we're looking at
this one here.
Yeah, we're looking at random read latency here. And while for a single drive, all of the platforms are pretty similar as you would expect. When you go to 2 drives in a RAID 0 configuration, the ROC, the RAID attached to the CPU, is actually less latent than going through the chipset, which has previously been seen as a highly optimized path for RAID. Intel has some fixed function hardware, and they're helping out with the RAID and the chipset. But just kind of the pure brute force of using the CPU to do the RAID calculations and connecting it directly to the least latent connection directly to the CPU actually saw an advantage here.
Huh. All right. Now, is that duplicated in the IOPS results? Looks like.
Yeah, IOPS pretty much follow.
Okay.
You see slight advantages to
sequential, pretty even across the board.
Yeah, everything's the damn same. All of the lines are stacked on that.
So what was the takeaway from this? Is this something you would ever actually recommend somebody do on their system?
If it worked with not Intel drives, it'd be cool.
Yeah, and as long as we can figure out how to do it with the discrete graphics card installed.
Yeah, if you had the discrete GPU working at by 8, which would be plenty really for any modern application running a GPU, and you had 2 970 EVOs in one of these cards in the secondary slot, it'd be a really compelling platform, and that's what you can do on an AMD platform.
Right.
It's just this seems like a really, really half-baked thing right now. I've only seen it on ASUS BIOSes. It does require BIOS level integration. I haven't seen it on anyone else's. This almost seems to me like a Z390 feature that is like being silently beta tested in Z370 BIOSes.
Yeah, it could be.
I just can't explain it any other way.
But honestly, original VRock felt like that too. Yeah. Because they just never released a chipset.
Yeah.
Like a new chipset to take advantage of that beta. Exactly. But
yeah.
Interesting stuff. Check out that write-up that Ken put up there if you want to check it out. Alan's not here to talk about it, so I'll just mention it real briefly. Toshiba RC100 M.2. This is a 240 gig, 480 gig SSD. This is so it's an NVMe SSD, but what's interesting about it is how teeny tiny they are. These are 2242, so they're what, 42 millimeter long.
Yeah. I believe
interfaces.
That's the smallest.
I think it is
SSD spec at least. I think the Wi-Fi cards might go a little smaller than that.
Let's see. Let's see.
It would almost be a disappointing gum stick to chew on.
Oh no, so at 2230,
it does say 2230. Okay. Yeah, he does mention 2230 as an option there. So in terms of performance, these are by 2 parts.
Sure.
Right. So you're limited, 1.6 gigabytes per second read, 1.1 gigabytes per second writes for the top capacity. So you're not looking at the same performance levels you would get with some of the by 4 products. But this is really Toshiba/OCZ's, getting their new BiCS flash into more devices, getting this new form factor out. You can kind of tell right now by looking at that picture there, comparing it to the 970 EVO, which is the full size. What is that? 2280?
I think so.
I think it's what it is.
Yeah.
80 millimeter. So, for space constrained systems, which I will honestly say there's not a whole lot of those right now. It really comes down to small form factor systems. So we asked Sebastian about this, and honestly, he said most of the small form factor systems that he's looked at are 2242, but also SATA
only.
Yeah, not PCIe NVMe.
I mean, that could be half because the drives didn't exist.
Right. Yes, that, and also just whatever chipsets those systems were using maybe weren't there. But I expect that when those platforms get updated, they will support PCIe and NVMe SSDs in there. And you can see that the performance kind of matched up with expectations in terms of what the specs were. If I look at Alan's not here to direct me, let me just go to here.
So it looked like this part had that slightly jittery caching issue we've seen previously, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
There you go.
Yep. Cache performance inconsistent when it came to intermittent 60-second writes with varying idles. In some passes, it took a few seconds before seeing SLC speeds kick in, but it did double the data rate for, what did he say? We saw over double the data rate for 15 to 20 gigs worth of sequential writing. So you can see, like, yeah, here it's wrote slow, picked up speed, and then went down. And then, like, only this last one did it kind of accelerate at the beginning for going back down to that. And that's this last.
It's trying to be
here.
healthy because interval training is, the best way to train.
It's all the rage now. Yeah.
Yeah.
That seems fair. So the performance is okay, not great, but in terms of if you have a need for this type of performance and this type of form factor, there's kind of no other options. There's like an OEM Samsung KM 971 or
which
something
is
like
a
that.
4 drive.
Yeah.
So
Pricing
you could
on
say
this
you've
is
got
good.
the need for mediocre speed.
In tiny places.
Yes.
Right. So take that for what you will. So check out that review. Alan has posted it. He is not here, but it is up on the website. Speaking of storage, we're not going to talk to Alan about this one. We're going to talk to Ken about this one. Accelerating secondary storage with Intel Optane memory. We've already talked about Optane memory. We can walk through, we can run through a lot of this.
Yeah.
Using 16, 32, or 64 gig Optane drives, what they call Optane memory, to accelerate spinning disks, spinning rust buckets, whatever you want to call it, hard drives.
That's exactly what I want to call it.
But they added a new feature last month, I guess, that enabled you or gave you the ability to enable Optane caching on non-primary drives.
Exactly.
So instead of forcing you to only accelerate your boot drive, you could accelerate your secondary drive where you had games or photos or whatever else you want to have on there. And you went through some testing with this to try to see, could we get workloads that match it?
Yeah, this is one of the things that a lot of people are asking for when Optane memory acceleration caching, whatever you want to call it, was announced. Like, okay, I already have a nice SATA SSD or an NVMe SSD for my boot drive that I'm satisfied with, but I have this 8 terabyte hard drive that I shucked out of a external drive at Best Buy on sale.
Yeah.
And I have all my Steam games on it. I would like that to go a little faster, please.
Yeah.
And we saw
Seems like a reasonable
AMD
request.
Store by Technology would allow you to address a secondary drive. And that was released, it's March at this point?
Yep.
A couple months ago. So Intel is kind of really missing the boat here, but they finally updated their Optane memory software to enable external drive caching. So we went ahead, they sent over a test platform based on an 8700K with one of the new 64 gigabyte Intel Optane modules.
The bigger ones.
So the first time we've seen that. And a 1 terabyte Western Digital Black. So even like a really good case for the hard drive, a fast hard drive.
It wasn't the slowest 5,400 RPM spinning drive you could get.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So scenarios we were looking for, it's kind of weird. You need a scenario where you have a lot of large files that benefit from speed. So having your Plex drive on an external the disk IO isn't really a bottleneck, right? You're streaming off 1080p videos. It's not really going to be a bottleneck. Gaming can be a bottleneck with level load times. Ashes of the Singularity Escalation is one that over the past couple of years we found has a really long initial load when you start up the game when the splash screen. And if you look here, by enabling Optane caching, we actually saw a speed up on the initial load. So even before it got into the cache, we just enabled Optane memory, started up the game, which was installed on the hard drive, and we saw a 23% decrease in load times. And then the second time we launched it, we saw another similar decrease, getting to less than half of the initial load time after we had launched the game twice. And we launched the game, timed it, reboot so that the contents would get out of RAM.
Out of memory, right?
Get out of RAM, because that would obviously speed it up a lot. And then we would measure the time again.
Interesting.
So pretty good. Another interesting data point that we took a look at was Lightroom. So that's a photo cataloging application. You ingest a bunch of photos into it. In this case, it was 500 raw images from our Sony a7S II. And this is interesting because you can't really cache it because you do an import once, right? So it's not an action you do again. However, enabling Optane caching did accelerate sort of the initial write of keeping the Lightroom library on a secondary drive. It's, again, almost half here. So pretty impressive sort of speed ups here.
You looked at PC Mark. And overall, there was not a lot of result change here, but if you looked at individual tests,
Yeah.
The essentials test, the app startup seeing the biggest gap, kind of makes sense.
Makes sense.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's nice to see from PC Mark because it's kind of a controlled scenario to prevent things like caching in RAM and stuff like that. It's supposed to be a true experience, a sort of a quantifiable benchmark. So it's nice to see such a big gain here going by turning on Optane caching.
Right. And then Store MI comparison, you did include some of that here. Any of these particularly stand out? Like what do you think?
So since these things that we've tested are CPU affected, we're looking at percent gain here.
Oh, right. So it's not an actual number.
Yeah, you can't compare apples to apples because the CPU does have an effect on things like loading games and the overall system configurations there. But we looked at sort of the percent gain or percent decrease in some cases.
Right.
So by turning on Store MI caching with the same Optane memory module and the same hard drive, we actually saw a 21% decrease in initial load time.
Yeah.
Which
That's-
obviously is less than ideal. However, when we enabled on the second load, we saw a 59% increase over the initial speed.
So it's 59% faster.
Yes, than just
Right.
loading it off the
It
hard
wasn't
drive.
longer. It wasn't 59% longer. It was
Correct,
59%
correct.
faster. Got it. Okay.
Which compared to the
Yeah.
24% we saw with Optane,
Ooh, Velveeta.
pretty good.
Sorry, Velveeta ad distracted me.
But
Sorry.
I mean, the ads we're seeing are like 4 times faster.
Yeah, not quite that.
Doesn't seem to be the case, but still, I mean, that's a big difference.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Same thing.
you'll notice that if it's a game you play often and it sits in your cache, you'll definitely notice that.
Lightroom looked like it saw bigger gains with the 8700, just a handful
Yeah.
of percentage with the 2700X. Same thing with, I guess, no, that was interesting. So the second runs weren't any faster.
Yeah, PC Mark seems to be pretty resistant to caching, like we
I
said.
think that's kind of its goal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they don't want to
Yeah.
technology like that.
So let me
to-
ask you this again. Is this something you would actually tell people to do?
This is absolutely something I would tell people to do. $35 for a 32 gig Optane module. You have a spare M.2 slot in your PC. It's a no-brainer.
It's basically, I would look at this almost as like, hey, accelerate that game that you play the most. Whatever it happens to be that week.
Yeah.
Right? 32 gigs is going to be at least that game, depending on what you're doing. And, you want to load PUBG faster? You want to load Fortnite faster? I don't know. What do kids play these days? Those are the only 2 games that exist, I think.
And it's
Or, I mean, hell, you got a business machine and, they just upgraded you, so they're not going to spend a lot of money on you, but they did give you a 4 terabyte hard drive. It's like, guys, like $35.
Yeah.
Boom. I'm happy as I could be.
Yeah. And I mean, if you're a little cheaper, you could get the 16 gig module. I don't know what it goes for, but you'll still see
I think it's like
some
20,
increase.
25,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think the 32 is the sweet spot currently. But yeah, I mean, it's available on Intel platforms now. If you have an X470 board, you get the Store MI stuff for free. If you have an older AMD board, I think it's $20. It's like a reduced cost license.
Yeah.
So you're up to 55 then. But I mean, I'm pretty impressed.
Yeah.
Overall, like it seems to work. I think it's a more reasonable use case for people than for enthusiasts than the Optane primary drive caching.
Because you're likely using a fast SSD anyway as your primary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That makes sense. So check out that testing. That's on the website as well. Optane acceleration of secondary drives. Real quick, Chris posted a review of the Corsair Void Pro RGB wireless gaming headset. This is a $99. Actually, I think as I looked today when I published it was on sale for $79. A wireless gaming headset. It's got the RGB on it, so you know that it's a good sign. It's a very familiar look and style if you've seen any of the reviews that we've posted of Corsair headsets as of late. But obviously, wireless this time around. It does have the support for the Dolby headphones, 7.1 surround, kind of I always call it like faux surround, but they do a lot of processing on there. I don't know exactly how you would classify
We kind of
it.
talked about this.
Virtual.
We kind of talked about this earlier today in the
Sure.
chat. Every gaming headset has 3D audio, and I don't get it.
I mean,
they're all taking the Arial 3D stuff and
Yep.
dumbing it
Bolting it
down
on.
and slapping it on there and
Yeah.
calling it good.
I think
Crap.
the idea is actually really compelling,
Yeah.
right?
I haven't tried it in a long time, so maybe it's a little better than I remember. But
Yeah. So that review is up there. I got a good marks from Chris. Especially it's $99 when he wrote it was $79 when you see it there. But a good look at that. So check that out on the website. Before we get to our news items of the week, or no, our last story, we did get a new Patreon pledge of $5 from Josh. Crashed on my couch last week, and it's still soaked.
And it still sucked?
Soaked.
Oh, well, yeah. You know, I'm older. I forgot to wear my Depends. And I drank a lot that night, and I didn't feel like moving, so I apologize. But it's mainly just water. I mean, you know.
That's why the futon in the other room is like pleather, right? So it just rolls off.
Yeah.
To the floor. To the carpeted floor.
Just put some newspapers down. It's fine.
This carpet won't absorb anything.
So on to the next story. We do not have a review of the Intel Core i7-8086K for you today. Instead, we have...
Not for lack of trying, as it turns out.
That's very true. Instead, we have a kind of mix of results of things that didn't go great. What is it? The school for kids who can't read too good? That type of deal.
Yeah.
This is an article for processors that don't compute too good. So I don't know how to say this. We went out and bought this processor. Intel wasn't sending out these units to reviewers.
It sort of popped up on Amazon and Newegg on Friday. I saw they had it at Micro Center. Yeah. I drove up there on Friday evening and bought one.
We took a physical car to a physical location to buy a physical processor, and then
with a physical intern.
Had to go interact with people.
Let you down
at Micro
like
Center.
this.
Ken fought with this processor all weekend. We fought with it all, Monday, Tuesday, and today, trying to get it to work. The problem we're having with this is not that it's not booting, it boots. We can't get it to boost correctly. We've never seen it boost to 5 gigahertz, and even when you're running a single threaded benchmark that you manually set affinity to one thread, all of the cores spike up to 4.5, 4.4 gigahertz, and it runs the whole thing. And so we ran through our whole gamut of tests, and there was never a place where the single threaded performance was higher on the 8086 than the 8700K.
Yeah.
Now that being said,
have you tried turning it off and on again?
Oh,
we did.
Shit, no.
We did. We tried.
Okay.
We tried different motherboards.
Did you spread the heat sink compound evenly across the entire heat spread?
By heat sink compound, do you mean peanut butter?
Yes.
If so, yes.
No, actually, mayonnaise has a better coefficient and will be more efficient for what you're doing. And finally,
can't wait.
Did you use the Hyper 212X? Because that's the ultimate cooler, right?
It is the ultimate $30 cooler. No, we were using Corsair H115, something like that.
Should have tried the Wraith Ripper.
We tried different motherboards. We tried different BIOSes.
Different
we tried
OS installs.
New OS installs.
A lot of MEI versions.
A ton of settings. Yeah, we were fighting with Asus and Gigabyte on this. Now that being said, so we had trouble with like the part not working. There being not essentially 0% difference between it and what an 8700K would do.
Yeah.
And in some cases a little bit behind. And even despite our best attempts to want to use funny pictures with an 8086K.
I ordered this 8086K for $11.75, and this is the only photo I got to use it on.
You ordered the non-K for $11.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
I got the K.
For $11, I would highly recommend the Core i7-8086K.
But that's a 1976 product?
Yeah.
Look at that.
As it turns out, someone on Twitter pointed out it's probably a fake because 1976 is not the copyright for an 8086.
Oh, nuts.
But,
oh, well, whatever. So we had a bunch of results. They didn't show any differences. We were starting to fight with it. And then we started to see like the non-tech review went up, the tech report review went up, and we realized that I don't
you weren't alone.
The non-tech review showed very little single-threaded performance scaling difference. Tech report showed a little bit more scaling in it. And then we realized that in actuality,
it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't really matter, right? The 8086K only differs from the 8700K by 300 megahertz at one core clock setting, right?
Which you're virtually never at.
Yeah, when one thread is enabled, it runs at 5 gigahertz. The 8700K runs at 4.7.
Yeah.
When you go down to 2 cores being active, you're at 4.6. 3 cores 4.6. 4 cores 4.5, whatever it is. And the 8700K and the 8086K track perfectly with each other. So only in the instance where you are running a single-threaded workload, which is hard to do, like a purely single-threaded environment, which is really hard to do in Windows. And even Jeff at Tech Report pointed out that like it was really hard to do unless you manually set affinity to that task, because otherwise you get thread bouncing, moving around, and it kind of keeps the cores alive. So not only would it only have ever mattered in like Cinebench single-thread results, it would be identical performance across the board otherwise. And what was this selling for? It's $425 now, I think, on Newegg. And so it's, it's 60, 70 bucks more than an 8700K. So it's a special edition, limited edition. It's got a nicer box for whatever that's worth.
A nice note from Brian Krasanich in there.
Yeah. But it doesn't offer you anything. And also from the overclocking that we did with it, because after we couldn't get it to work at its stock setting, I said, okay, you know what? Put it at 5.2, 5.3 all cores. We'll run this as an overclocking test. We could only get it to 5.1 stable. Which is what our 8700K.
I think the voltages were maybe a bit better, but
yeah.
And I mean, maybe you heard something more from Jeff, but for his testing, that's what he did, was manually overclock it too. I reading between the lines, I think he gave up on trying to do it on the automatic way and just went straight out manual overclock.
Yeah.
And got pretty much the exact same you did.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, 5.1 is pretty good for an 8700K if you look at just kind of general parts out there.
Yeah.
It's not like the best we've ever seen.
Yeah.
So it sort of makes this thing literally just a well-binned 8700K that you can overclock.
But not even like, oh my God, this is so much better at overclocking.
Yes,
it's like,
if you're only going to make 50,000 of them, you'd think it would be like really good. But
yeah.
Go ahead, Alex.
So was the overclocking done, was that on a closed loop or a air cooler?
It was
an all-in-one water cooler.
It was an all-in-one water cooler.
The same thing
we had the temperatures where we needed it, like in the 70 to 80 range. But every time we hit anytime we wanted to hit 52 on the multiplier instead of 51, it would blue screen.
Yeah.
So I don't think the 86.
I mean, if you want to be nuts and pull out the liquid nitrogen,
I don't.
Bauer hit 7 gigahertz.
Which like his 8086K overclock on LN2 was worse than his 8700K overclock.
The 8700K, he hit 7.3.
Yeah.
So it's actually going slower than that. He says, well, I had more time with them. So yeah, he might be able to match it.
Yeah.
The chances of beating it in any reasonable or any normal or any noticeable way.
I think it's pretty obvious that the 8086K is it's a limited edition, fans of Intel who get the joke of the name, the 8086.
I was really excited for this.
I was too,
and now I'm just bummed out.
And I thought that 300 megahertz difference was going to permeate throughout the entire bin. Yeah. Like at every point, it was going to be 300 megahertz higher. And I was like, okay, that's a reasonable percentage. Mm-hmm. And if it overclocks a little bit better, then hey, great.
Yeah.
But it was not the case. So we still have this part
next year for the i9 8088.
Yeah. Yeah. Looking forward to that one. So we'll have some follow up on this. We're going to do some more stuff probably. We got another.
How many of these chips do you got?
We had 2.
Oh, I thought you had 2.
No, we had 2. They both did the exact same thing.
Yeah.
We had 2. That's like the classic joke. You don't know it?
Are you going to tell me?
Balls, said the king. If I had 2, I could be king, said the queen. The king laughed. He had 2.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. That's a good play on words. I like that one. No, that's good. And you delivered it well.
It's true.
There wasn't a stutter. What you didn't have to think and misspeak or anything. That was good. That was a good job, Josh.
I've been practicing that for 20 years, so
And he's qualified to be
25.
All right, next story. Into the news we go. More Intel stuff. There's a lot of Intel stuff on this podcast. Intel confirms its first discrete graphics chips will be available in 2020, as first reported by this analyst guy on MarketWatch.
That's not an analyst. That's Raja.
That's Raja. That's a pretty funny picture, though.
And he's happy. He's a happy man.
Yeah, he does look happy.
Look at that. He's got all that facial hair. He's got grins going on. He's got a transparent. Who has transparent name cards? Intel does.
I mean, it's white.
That's worth like $20,000 a year, and just to get that.
It's white. The background happens to be white.
Look, you can see his fingers.
It's in a badge holder.
It's in a badge holder. It's in like a plastic badge holder.
Screw you. Whatever.
Intel CEO Brian Krzanich disclosed during an analyst event last week that it will have its first discrete graphics chips available in 2020. This will mark the beginning of the chip giant's journey towards a portfolio of high-performance graphics products in various markets, including gaming and data center and AI. So a couple of things that are new in this information that I got was 1, 2020 confirmed. 2, CES 2019, effing crazy talk.
Yeah.
Like there were a lot of rumors like, oh, they're gonna. I don't know what it was. I think it was when like Arctic Sound and those other rumors started circulating. That they're gonna
like pull up a data center centric AI part.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen, guys. Not CES 2019. So people who thought that, sorry about that. And then confirming that yes, they were gonna address client and enterprise applications with GPU tech. It was kind of, a question, right? When they brought on Raja, they mentioned discrete GPU, but they didn't say if it was for gaming or if it was for professional visualization or if it was for, machine learning, AI. And the answer is all of the above. Now they wouldn't give me any more information about which one's going to come first and, what performance segments are you categorizing or targeting. All that's still to come. Obviously 2020 is a long way away. But it was interesting to see that finally come out. It sets a nice timetable for us. It sets a nice timetable for NVIDIA and AMD about when do you have to start questioning these things. I think if you're AMD and NVIDIA, you're not super concerned about this yet.
Yeah.
I think it would be really, really difficult, but also really, really, really impressive if it happened, if Intel got this right on the first try, like got it really right. Hardware side, software side, partnership side.
That's a big hill to climb.
Intel's got a ton of money. They got a ton of engineers. They if anybody was going to be able to do this, it's going to be them. Yeah. But that being said, man, is that tough to do? And you know what? And they can't be 50% slower and release it and be anything but pooped on as a result. Right? Like they know they have to be competitive, right? If NVIDIA is still the number one and Intel is maybe like tied with AMD or vice versa, that's incredible. Fine. That would be fine. But if NVIDIA's performance 1 and AMD's performance 0.9 and Intel's performance 0.7, that's not good, right? So it'll be really interesting. Any thoughts on this, Josh?
Yeah, I do. Because
I'll let you go ahead.
Before that, they've bought companies, they've kept people in the groups, they've had leadership that has gone up through the ranks in Intel, and we've seen the results of that. I mean, what Larrabee were just a bunch of small Pentium cores that had big vector units attached to them, and it was a big mess. They used their process technology to get it to where it would be as fast as it possibly could, and it was about 50% to 75% of the performance of a high-end NVIDIA or AMD card, or ATI at the time, whichever, but it pulled in as much power, if not more, and it was incredibly inefficient for what it was aimed at. They had programmable pretty much everything, except they threw in some texture units later on. And the difference here is that they brought in external people who have actually done high-end graphics in the past and have paid them a lot of money and given them a lot of engineering talent around them to do these things. And so while I'm not convinced the first generation is going to be great, it's going to be a far better product than Intel has ever done in the past. I mean, you can go back to the i740, the Starfighter group that they bought from Lockheed, I believe.
I don't remember who they bought it for. I remember that graphics card. I had one of those cards.
Yeah, I had one too, and they had, it came out late because they threw on these AGP 2X features on it that it really didn't particularly need, and the big push was, memory is expensive. We can give you these AGP features, and we're going to have a competitive card that's going to be cheaper because it doesn't have and need as much memory. Well, that didn't work out because the engineering behind it was too slow in getting it going. And even though it was, kind of Voodoo Graphics type performance, they were dealing with Voodoo 2, TNT, Banshee, stuff that really was much, much faster. And again, software support is still an area.
Yeah.
So Intel has got, they've got the resources, but they're going to have to focus down a lot of stuff. They're going to have to invest in new areas of software that they have not really done before. I mean, sure, they have integrated graphics and they've got pretty decent software for that.
Yeah.
But it's a whole new ballgame. And not only that, but then you've got to port over to this architecture into non-gaming areas if you want to compete against AMD and NVIDIA in 2020.
I actually think they probably have a better chance of that taking some market share because of their channel distribution, their partnerships with the Xeon brand. They have a way easier path in than AMD does. NVIDIA's already created that path for itself.
Yeah.
AMD's got to bring it up. But
they've obviously got some good compiler guys and real-time compiler dudes. So
and Intel, if they can offer a GPU of any kind of reasonable performance level, they now have this breadth of portfolio for AI products that nobody else has, right? From Xeon to GPU to Movidius to the Nirvana NNP, all these different things that they're working on. There's a little bit of a throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks mentality, but if you have one more thing to throw, you've got one more chance that something sticks.
And like
hitting the big time.
Yeah.
They're already developing a software ecosystem around the idea, at least in deep learning, of having that ecosystem. I think it's called OpenVINO is the framework that we talked about recently.
Run anywhere type deal.
Yeah, so you write your OpenCV code and then you kind of compile it to whatever target you want, whether it's an Intel iGPU at this point or a CPU or a Movidius accelerator or anything like that.
Yeah.
And it will sort of automatically optimize your OpenCV vision code to whatever platform. And just think about them extending that to a more broad deep learning approach and then having GPUs to offer. It gives it like a nice portfolio of options that could be very compelling to go with Intel for.
So hopefully Raj will come out here soon again, tell me all about it. Sometime, before the end of 2018, come out and tell me all about the plans for 2020 and what performance levels are going to be at, what they're going to cost.
Mm-hmm.
I think
that's exactly how public companies work.
We've got lots of bourbon here still.
I was going to say, you better buy some of the.
I'll buy a nicer bottle, even to bring him back in. I know he'll be here. If I'm still here in this spot, he'll come back. Calling it. 2020.
Okay.
Here we go.
You can eat really hot chicken wings.
Ryan confirms Raja will land in Cincinnati Airport 2020 for interview. Be the next title. All right, let's move on to the next bunch of stuff here, if we don't mind. Real quick, Logitech launched a new G512 mechanical gaming keyboard. Jeremy, what is different about this one from what did we see recently? The G513, right?
Yeah, Chris just did the G513.
Yeah.
So if you're curious what it is, check out the review. The 512 is a thin down model. So you don't get that wrist rest, you don't get the removable keycap tool and a couple of extra keycaps to come with it.
Okay.
So in theory, it's going to be a little less expensive.
Right.
Right. But the other thing is that the one that Chris did was their linear, aka, cherry reds, more or less,
right.
although they're Romer Gs. So you just get the feel of the mechanical switch, but no click. They've also got them with the click for a while, the sort of the brown equivalent, or sorry, the bump at the end, but not the click.
Okay.
So what they announced today was the Romer G Blues, which are going to have not just that bump at the end, but an audible click.
And now they've got my interest.
Yeah. So if you really like that feel, this will be the equivalent of, well, cherry blues, strangely enough.
Does the audible click do something for you guys?
Oh, no. It does something for me.
Well, it does,
it
but
reminds
it's not
me
good.
of the first PS2 keyboard that I tapped on at some dentist's office in 1987.
Yeah.
It was wonderful.
Yeah, but I mean,
it makes me want to throw things at people.
You felt so productive when you
fundamentally,
hear clicking.
Yeah, fundamentally though, if you could have if it were the exact same feel without the click, you would prefer that, right?
Probably, but it isn't.
No, because that's you're not annoying yourself with the clicks. You're
need
annoying everyone around you.
Correct.
The clicks are it's reinforcing how productive you are, and therefore you become even more productive the more clicks that you hear. It's a positive feedback loop.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I thought it was Ryan that got clicks, paid for clicks, not us.
Heck yeah. What about this Logitech G Hub? Is that anything, Jeremy?
So for the longest time, they've had LightSync and they've had LGS, the Logitech gaming software that we've all known from our joysticks and mice and that. And they sort of bolted on the control of your RGBs through it. So right now you can go and head over to Logitech and sign up for the pre-release version of G Hub, which is a new interface for programming all of your various light shows and stuff that they say is going to be interesting, except I'm not allowed to see it because it's blocked in Canada. So I couldn't even look at the webpage.
Interesting.
But if you're interested, take a peek at it and program some wonderful light shows with sound effects as you click away.
I will.
That's what we all need.
Do it now.
I did. All right. Cooler Master at Computex, some Computex follow-up here at the end, showed a prototype thermoelectric all-in-one cooler. So what was the one we talked about last week? The Bauer
phase change.
Yeah. It's a phase change
all-in-one. Phase shift.
Phase shift. There you go. This is a thermoelectric TEC all-in-one prototype.
It's sort of like that thermoelectric cooler that Sebastian reviewed about a year ago, where it was just sort of integrated, had a Peltier integrated
but this
into
is much
the
larger.
Yeah,
right.
But it still requires active power.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, there's an old one.
Within arm's
It
reach.
works so well
Within
too,
arm's
right,
reach. Check your bingo cards.
And it worked so effectively, didn't it, Josh?
No, not particularly.
They never do.
So,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So apparently this prototype TEC will be rated at 300 watts.
Is that the draw or how much it dissipates?
I'm imagining that's the dissipation.
I hope so.
It only draw 300.
Apparently,
watts.
over at PC World, Gordon was able to do cursory testing with a FLIR camera attached to a smartphone, where he saw the cooler demonstrate its ability to cool the water using the loop to 10 to 15 degrees below ambient, where ambient was like 75 degrees Celsius, which is really hot, by the way.
The TEC will draw as much as 150 watts of power.
There you go. But you got that power supply already.
Yeah.
You've been overbuying power supplies for decades, so now you can actually use this. Jeez, oh Pete, that's a lot. Tim thinks about using this in an SFF system, but I don't think that it would have to come down in size quite a bit if that were the case.
You'd need to put a blower in the case.
I mean, if you're in a
can I interest you in a water chiller?
If you're in a part of the world that is warm, like your ambient temperature is warm, this could make sense.
Yeah, the TEC makes more sense there, because of that. Yes, you can apply power to it. You can apply a little bit of power to the computer chip to get it to cool down, as opposed to applying power to say, I don't know, your entire building to get the air conditioning and the ambient temperature down. That's kind of the benefit there. Anybody else thoughts on this? Let's see. Nope.
I mean, as silly as techs are, I mean, it is literally the only cooler we've got going commercially that will take you below ambient, as long as your ambient is crazily high.
No, I mean, shouldn't
That's
it work?
the key.
Does it matter if your ambient's not crazy high though? I would think it would still have the effect.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a delta change in temperature across, the electrical field, that Peltier effect. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's 38 degrees outside or 78. You're still going to get that change in temperature across the unit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just physics.
I like prototypes. I like them more when they turn into products.
Yeah.
You're just okay with prototypes?
Talk about prototypes that eventually turn into products.
Oh, finally, eh?
Good one. Nailed it.
One segue worked.
Okay, we were a little late on this. We're a little early on this.
Don't you think?
Go away from this for a second. I want to search for a picture.
Ironic.
Where is that picture?
I'm going to find it. Hold on.
The Nano comes out after Chris Hook leaves AMD.
Is it a coincidence?
Do you mean this
Maybe
picture here?
Maybe they finally found it from his blazer pocket.
A little too ironic, don't you think?
So is this limited edition? Is in like one?
No, I don't think so. I think so. If we go back to the actual announcement, which is a Computex, AMD announced during its press conference that PowerColor was going to make an RX Vega 56 Nano. So it's not its own product. It's still a Vega 56.
Yeah.
It's just in a smaller form factor.
And PowerColor has been shipping this PCB on like full length Vega 56 Nano or Vega 56 cards for a while.
So full length coolers essentially?
Yeah. Okay. With this size PCB. So it seemed kind of inevitable that PowerColor would be the one to do it.
Yeah. And I mean, look.
I am looking.
The Vega product had it has a different lifespan than maybe AMD would have liked it to have, right? It wasn't as incredibly well received. The Vega 56 is way better, I think, value-wise than the 64. At least it was at launch when we did all these reviews. So I'm glad to see this finally exist in real life as opposed to the one that Chris held up. However, if Chris has that one still, I would love to have that one.
No. He gave that to somebody.
Oh, yeah, he did.
Was it Sweeney?
He gave it to Mark Sweeney.
Tim Sweeney.
Tim Sweeney.
Yeah, but I bet they took it from him, like backstage, right?
Well, you know what? You have a personal relationship with the man. Ask him.
Okay.
Do him a favor or two.
Hey, Chris, give me that thing. I don't know. I think this could be interesting. It's, again, the Nano design is one of those things that small form factor designs.
Yeah.
That's really where it's useful. Otherwise, it's just you're putting more pressure on a cooler than is necessary. Yeah. If you have more space for it. But I did like the original. What the hell was it called? It's the Fiji based. Was it just?
Yeah, it was the Fiji R9.
R9
the original
just
R9
R9
Nano.
Yeah, it's just
R9
called
Nano.
R9 Nano.
Yeah.
You're right. Okay.
And that actually still has some popularity in the small form factor world. Like people are still using those cards in new builds because it's the most compact, high-powered card you can have in a lot of these systems. So,
but that leads
it doesn't
to
pull a
obvious
lot
question.
of power. It was kind of that was really a unique and interesting experiment in let's undervolt everything and see how fast we can still make it, but get it at 150 watt TDP.
Which is honestly kind of something that's permeated through the community. Like undervolting AMD cards is a very popular thing, not even just for mining. Like RX 580s, a lot of people are undervolt and still get really good performance out of, but reduce the power draw.
Okay.
So,
cool.
Because that leads to the obvious question of, is there going to be thermal throttling like you guys saw on that R9?
I mean, probably some level.
Yeah.
Apparently it's going to sell for $449, which I think is the Vega 56 kind of running price now, right?
Yeah.
Or is that $50 more? I think it's $50 more than the MSRP of the Vega 56. But yeah, I would like to try this out. It's been a while it's been a long time since we've like reviewed video cards where there's something different about it. Like
reviewed video cards.
This is is different enough. We can talk about different subsystems and where this could go, and I think would be pretty
and finally, the marketplace is correcting post.
Yeah.
Mining.
I bet if you're AMD
that
NVIDIA,
it actually
you're not
makes
happy
sense
about it.
for people to buy them.
Yeah.
And to have actually a review at MSRP.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What else do you got from Computex? The Zotac Z-Box.
Well, since IHOP's not making pancakes anymore, Zotac is.
They're still making pancakes. They're just also making burgers that are bad.
Burgers.
Right? The Z-Box Pico PI 225, still tiny, but now available. Anybody want to tell me about this? It's about the size of a 2.5-inch SSD, apparently.
So for the past two CESs, Intel has showed us something like this, the Compute Card, which is like an Intel reference platform. I believe so.
3 3/4 by 2.5
they came out with the Compute Stick, didn't they?
Yeah.
They did have that. I did use that.
So the Compute Card is essentially a platform for Intel. It's in the NUC family, sort of, but using way lower power processors. And it's supposed to have like a common connector on it, so it's upgradable. This, maybe not so much. It seems like it has its own I/O, but it would be way more useful to actually use. With the compute card stuff, you need a breakout that has active cooling in it.
Yeah.
But you don't seem to need that for this, and it has 2 Type-C ports on it. I assume one for power a micro for power, and then 2 Type-C ports for connectivity, including DisplayPort.
Interesting on the micro for power for that. At
yeah.
that point. Celeron, a dual-core Celeron N3350 at 1.1 gigahertz, HD 500 graphics, 4 gigs of memory, 32 gigs eMMC storage, 802. Oh wait, it has 802.11 AC.
Yep.
And Bluetooth 4.2
and Bluetooth.
Pre-installed
For
$180.
That's so much more powerful than my 1999 PC.
Yeah.
179
Which you paid
bucks.
more than $179 for.
Yeah,
More than that, yes.
that's pretty good. It includes the OS.
Oh, wow.
Tim points out that it could be used as like Plex endpoints for media streaming.
Yeah, you need a way to control it.
Yeah.
Plex app will do some of that stuff.
Very cheap portable silent audio recording PC. Yeah.
Something you can lose on the couch accidentally.
I don't get the comparison with the Pi though, because isn't the Pi 3? What is that shipping for now? $50?
$35.
Oh, it's way less.
Yeah.
But this is way more powerful.
Okay.
Right?
Well, I mean, it's shipping with an
and
OS.
it has an OS.
That
Yeah.
already it's working. You don't have to learn how to deal with Pi.
True. If you have a USB accessory, boom, done.
Yeah.
Right? In theory, I guess, right? Depending on the capability of the device. That's pretty neat.
I bet you it's got wide-eye too.
Maybe.
I don't know.
HD 500?
No,
I don't know if
HD500
Wi-Fi
is
is
low.
still a thing.
Yeah,
Oh, it
HD500 is low end.
Dell's
Okay.
are still shipping with it.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, that would be a great feature for that. Right?
Yeah, it would.
Because
And it
have to
actually
connect
makes
it to-
sense for this one.
to a display.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was an Intel that killed their remote keyboard app
Yeah,
on
'cause of
Android.
massive
right?
vulnerabilities.
Yeah,
as
huge
it turns out.
vulnerabilities. Yeah, it
Yeah.
turns out not great. What else we got? Oh, look at this. The most exciting news to come from Computex. Noctua.
I mean, once you go...
Once you get away from tan on tan,
This
you
is
go to
bullshit.
you go to black on black. I don't know.
only beige for me, man.
Yeah. You shouldn't get the color you want.
You should get the color they give you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I understand. So Noctua apparently showed black colored coolers with black fans as opposed to the beige, tan.
Yeah.
Combined
They've been
Noctua
doing
designs.
black fans for a
And
while
I mean,
now.
it's not like this is the first one they've ever done.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, they've had
Yeah,
black.
but some people like the color of vomit.
It's true. Wait, what?
I was thinking the other end, Josh, but
Yeah.
But isn't Lori going to want that cooler? I mean, look at that thing.
Yeah.
It looks really
The
cool
one on the
blacked
right,
out.
yeah. Like they could get that licensing for that Batman brand. That's what you got right
And
there.
plus, you've got the black body radiation coming off of that, so it's even more efficient. Am I right?
Shut up.
Black body, bam, bam.
Gosh, you're not wrong.
Spending a little too much time on Honda forums, painting your intercooler black.
So that's all that is from Noctua. We'll see. I would expect 0 performance delta.
I expect
For
a
the
price
fans.
increase because they should.
Yeah.
They should charge $15 more for these because
People would buy them.
fuck you.
People would buy them. People would buy them.
But I think the article said there was a slight performance decrease, didn't it?
On the cooler,
Yeah.
I guess from having the anodized
Or maybe that was just the fan.
cooler. I mean, the
They just
fan should
painted
move
over
air
the
the
tan
same.
ones with black spray paint, didn't they?
It,
I mean-
it does look rattle canned from a distance.
No,
It looks awesome.
can't tell anything like that. I don't know. The Chromax series, customized with bits of color accents by switching out pieces if you want, as well as including cables, rubber fan mounts, fan shrouds in black, white, green, blue, yellow, and red.
Does it have RGB?
No, it is manual RGB. You swap out the mount
All right, I
of
will
white,
pay
blue,
extra for
green,
it then.
yellow, or red.
So we're gonna start a pool now, right? We're gonna get one of these in, and we're gonna scrape the paint off and see what color it is underneath, right?
No.
Are you talking about the fan or the heatsink?
Either.
The fan. Why would you paint the fan?
I don't know.
I mean, they could. But
it's got to be cheaper to
because he
injection
wants more
black
mass on the rotating body.
Say again, Josh.
He wants more mass on the rotating body,
Mm,
so
fair,
you know,
yeah,
it makes
fair.
it even more efficient.
All right.
Make sure to take a notch equally off of each blade.
Yeah.
Last bit of news here. Intel was showing off some dual display demos.
Again,
Say again, Jeremy.
I said again.
Oh, well, tell me about it this time.
Well, I mean, we've been seeing these for a while, and I mean, the yogas have been interesting.
Let me hold on. Let me stop you there.
You didn't really love it, did you?
Well, hold on. We haven't seen two displays. We've seen a display and then a
really large like trackpad
like a
touch
large
area.
trackpad touchpad area that that could have a keyboard on it, or you could draw on it with a pen. But like the two like actual monitors displays, I think is still new.
Well, we've seen.
So is that bottom one a sleep study graph? That's kind of what it looks like.
They're both the same Excel sheet. You're just scrolling through it. It's acting like one tall portrait display in that instance.
What does everyone wants to work with a touch screen
like
on
an
Excel?
Brain graph.
Cool. So somebody should go first.
Yeah, good
Jeremy,
story.
what'd you say?
I said everyone wants to work on a touch screen when they're dealing with Excel.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. It's good for viewing data, not maybe good for manipulating data in that case. But I think at this point they're just showing prototypes of, hey, we can get this to work. I mean, one of the big problems you see already is literally in this picture is your difference in viewing angle has a significant change.
Better use IPS displays.
On what that screen is. Yeah, and like really good ones. And figure out how to make them have super wide viewing angles. Because clearly the screen on the bottom looks a third as bright as the one at the top.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are a bunch of sacrifices you got to make because I mean the buddy thing's 4.7 millimeters thin.
Sure, that's true.
And they managed to fit a Kaby Lake in there. Which is sure craziness.
A Y series part, but yeah, I mean,
still,
yeah, that's a good performance level.
And
like it's not just a toy. If they can actually pull this off, it's going to look wonderful. And they've sort of the bottom side, and as you mentioned, it is a little bit less bright. It's because it's some sort of EPD.
Not in that prototype.
This is what they're talking about for Tiger Rapids. They had on the bottom.
They had different iterations, but that is not e-paper.
Okay.
Like you could just look at that and not e-paper. I want the one with e-paper desperately.
Yeah.
Please
because
give it to
what we're
me.
sort of saying is that the bottom one, one of the problems with the yogas was when you're drawing on it with a stylus, there's no give to it whatsoever. There's no tactile input.
Yeah. I mean that's the case with every
they're talking
pin.
about a tiny bit of give.
Yeah.
Just to give you that feeling.
The idea of it kind of feeling more like paper when you draw on it is interesting.
Yeah, you could have like reference material on the top display and use a stylus on the bottom to draw. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you could do dual IPSs unless you wanted to have two separate lines, which would make sense.
There's a lot of questions about could you do this and actually still be a productivity user? Do you want is it going to be a completely virtual keyboard? Is it going to come with a keyboard that mounts on top? It's going to be just external keyboards. Yeah. There's a lot of different problems you have to solve here. Like,
you got a single USB-C. So,
well, yeah, and we don't know what their partner designs were going to be. Remember, Intel doesn't sell laptops, as it turns out. Dell and HP and Lenovo and Asus do. And the
so
Asus,
does Microsoft.
The Asus Precog that they showed was much larger than this. It had different feature sets. It had one of those Movidius AI chips in it, for example. But there's a lot of there are a couple of
so let's talk about Project Andromeda. This has been the oft rumored, almost confirmed through patent drawings, Microsoft Windows 10 dual screen device. So it seems like a lot of this is will build on top of that momentum. Like Microsoft will release a Surface device that's like this, but and figure out the OS implications of that, and then a bunch of OEMs will release them. It's kind of what this seems like. Intel has a reference platform they're showing off. I mean, we've heard rumors of a Yoga Book 2. Well, actually, no, they announced a Yoga Book 2 at Computex on the Intel stage. There's this Andromeda stuff. It all kind of seems to be a perfect storm where it's not just one OEM doing this. It could be like a more industry-wide movement, which I think is really cool and I'm excited for. I don't know why, but I'm excited for it. It's something new.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there are a couple of like user types that this makes perfect sense for, the artistic side.
Yeah.
Then there are the productivity users where you're like, is this even what we want, right?
Yeah.
Do we even want to talk about this transition? It's going to take a lot to get people away from the keyboard, the trackpad of a laptop.
Yeah.
Right.
For good reason.
The physical things. But you look at what happened in phones.
Yeah.
We did eventually get away from having physical keyboards on phones.
And they stopped shrinking and started getting bigger again too, which you wouldn't have called.
That's true, but because the display became the most important part at that point.
Maybe one day the display becomes foldable.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
we're working on that.
Here's the interesting thing, right? You got these dual displays, and because it becomes annoying to put your fingers on them all the time, you'll attach a mouse to it so you can get a little bit better control. And then because of all that, you attach a keyboard to it, and you're starting to use the keyboard. And then because of the way the angles are, you then just take it and you turn it upside down, and you've got a dual display laptop that
with a really nasty bezel in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of things to work through. No doubt. But interesting that they show it. I'm interested. All right.
I'm curious to see how this is going to work out, because I do know people that this would be their usage scenario, and they love it. They absolutely love it.
Yeah.
So
all right,
we'll see.
Let's do our picks of the week. Up first.
No.
Yes, me. It is an $8 Transcend USB 3.0 card reader that I needed. My laptop at the time did not have, it still doesn't have an SD card reader on it. And so this is small enough that just throw it in the backpack pocket. Don't have to worry about it. Doesn't have any like USB cables. So you don't have to worry about losing something along that line.
Other than just losing the entire unit.
Well, sure. It's not that small. But like you might not lose a cable, but you might, I need to use this for this other purpose, and then forget to put it back in your bag, for example.
Yeah.
Right. Or so you can get it in this fancy black color, or for a penny less, you can get it in bright ass pink.
Sort of a follow up. If you have a laptop that only has Type C, I have a very similar reader that's SD and micro SD from Anker, and it has a little attached cord, but it's Type C. So if you're using a laptop with only Type C, you can eliminate a dongle there.
Yeah,
and it's about $10 too.
Yeah, handy
That's
to
cheap
have.
as chips.
Yeah, you should
handy
just
to have.
Have a good SD card reader around. Pick of the week.
Yeah.
Ta-da! All right, Jeremy.
Nice deal on a case that Sebastian gave a gold award to.
Is that
the
case
smaller
or
sized Corsair Crystal?
The 460X.
Yeah.
Yep.
So up here in Canuckstown, it's $140 at the end of it, which is about what you'd pay for it in the States.
Wow.
Is that the one we have in the office?
I think we have the bigger one. I think we have the 570.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know,
You'll have the bigger one, probably.
It's still a very pretty case.
I really like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's well designed, too.
Yeah, you get the front tempered glass, but there's a nice air gap in the front, so you can actually get some front intake through those 3 fans that they put in there.
Without whistling too terribly.
No.
Tempered glass is pretty, but it's a damn good insulator, too.
Yeah.
All right.
George.
You know, I'm on a storage kick, and this one caught my eye. A 480 gig SSD for $7. That's not it.
That's not it.
Oh, Josh didn't have his in there. Yeah, of course.
Link.
Are you kidding me? No, I put it in there.
Yeah, no, it wasn't in there when I was doing the tabs. You were late, is what I'm saying.
Whatever. 480 gig for $79. And if you're on eBlast, it's even less with Newegg.
It's gold, too.
True.
Sure is. It's probably a crappy performing SSD, but you don't care because it's $79 without eBlast.
And what's that work out to? You gotta give me the price per gig. 16.4 cents.
10-cent class.
10-cent class SSDs, everybody.
Not
I was
10-cent
right.
class.
10-cent class.
Like the Chinese company. 10-cent.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
10-cent class.
10-cent per gig class. Yeah.
About 18 cents, I'd say.
All right, now the mystery pick from Ken.
Speaking of China, All of my picks are going to come directly from China now.
From the future.
Speaking of, have you actually got your laptop yet?
They said soon.
They promised it would be soon.
They sent an email on Saturday saying they will mod the machine and ship it in the next 7 days. So, stay tuned. So this is an interesting problem that's kind of existed for a while. We've had USB 3.1 Gen 2 on a lot of products recently. You can get NVMe M.2 SATA to USB 3.1 enclosures, but that doesn't really buy you a whole lot. You don't see the bandwidth increase. What you really want is an NVMe to USB 3.1 device. And as it turns out, J Micron, who we know and love, has started to come out with a chipset to do this. It's the JMS 583. And there have popped up a couple of Chinese OEMs only selling on AliExpress that are making these devices. So it's really only a matter of time before we either see these Chinese devices on Amazon in the US or some PC OEM rebrand them.
So this spells PNY all over it.
I was thinking more like Thermaltake.
Okay, yeah.
Like
Anchor?
Anchor, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd buy the Anchor version of this.
How about the fake USB drives you used to buy from them for really cheap?
Yeah.
That one was great. You shut up.
Yeah.
It was 2 terabytes.
Yeah.
So because it's J Micron, will you get the SSD pauses?
I hope
that has been their legacy.
I hope so.
That'd be nice.
$33, free shipping. It's free shipping on the Slow Boat. I'm not gonna order one of these yet because I don't want it to take 6 to 8 weeks to get here.
On-time delivery in 60 days.
Yeah, I'm gonna wait to see if I can find one of these devices using this chipset in the US and kind of keep an eye on that out for that. But it's starting to get out there, which is nice.
Yay,
I've wanted this for a
time.
while. Yes, it makes perfect sense.
I mean,
cool.
NVMe drives have been out for how long, and we haven't had an ability to do this.
Yeah.
Till now.
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 All right, everybody, that's it for the week. Thanks for joining us. You can find all of the links to the stories we talked about and everything else at pcper.com/podcast, and pcper.com/live is where we stream 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific on Wednesdays. pcper.com/subscribe is where you can sign up for that mailing list. And don't forget, this coming Tuesday, so if you listen to this, it's this coming Tuesday, June 19th, we are hosting an AMD FreeSync discussion live stream that will have some pretty cool news in it, as well as hardware to give away. So
isn't that incredible?
Isn't it incredible?
Thank you.
Thank you. It will be incredible. It will absolutely be incredible. So thank you, everybody. So what was I going to say? On that Tuesday, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, June 19th. And if you go to pcper.com/subscribe, you can sign up for that mailing list. I'll send you a reminder. Then you can add it to your Google Calendar or whatever the cool things that you use to keep track of your time and schedule. So with that, we'll see you guys next week. Goodbye.
This week's episode brought to you by Solo Cup.
It's fake Solo Cup.
Oh, sorry, off-brand Solo Cup. Even cheaper.
It's
Duo Cup.
It's called Han.
He picks you up.
It's Chinette.
I haven't heard that in a
I'll
long
have to
time.
ask Jim. I think that's Costco, isn't it?
I mean,
Are these cups from
Chinette
Costco?
used to be respectable, at least at picnics.
Yeah, Chinette by Kirkland. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So, yeah, Costco.
Got to get that membership, son.
what's
I don't
the
have a
nearest
Costco
to
within 80 miles of me.
80 miles?
That's
Yep.
closer than I would have thought, to be
I
honest.
got
do
one
have
about
a
3
Sam's
miles.
Club 45 miles away.
Mm.
We got both. Well, what?
Yeah,
We
Sam
ain't-
Club and
we ain't
Costco is
got
right next to each
shit.
other.
Not really.
They're not next to each other.
Well, it's in the same town.
They're within 5 miles.
Oh, it's less than that.
You think?
Yeah. Houston
So I'm
Road
afraid
is
to ask how
about
far you have to go
I
for an
don't- I
IKEA.
don't
We're
care.
going to find out now. Now,
I'll be right
this-
back.
yeah, but you're not
because,
5 minutes
I need to go
on-
relieve myself on your carpet.
I didn't.
I'm gonna go with 1.8 miles. My bid.
Okay. By
Alexa, how
Crowfly
close
or
is there
by
IKEA?
driving? I'm talking about by driving.
By driving.
Okay.
I guess they're basically the same, actually.
There's not a big difference there.
There's a little bit of a shimmy.
Yeah, but not much.
That's the worst intersection in town.
2.8 miles.
Oh, really?
Yeah. 3.3 if you take the freeway.
Oh, that's just silly.
That's because it's the world's longest on-ramp.
Actually, I would take the freeway between these two places.
Would.
Like if I'm coming from Sam's Club, you come out, you go straight across Houston to the South Brown Freeway. You get off on Mall Road and turn left.
Yeah, Costco is right off the exit.
You don't get on Mall Road.
Yeah, it's a Mall Road exit.
Oh, I thought we were going the other way. I thought we were going Costco to Sam's Club. Never mind.
No, if you do that, then because you get and even then Costco's right there.
Yeah.
You go on north.
Taking the interstate makes more sense. I just wouldn't think about it because they're so close.
Well, that's just
I never
when
think
you
about
live
taking
here
the
your whole
interstate
life.
one stop.
When you live in this town almost your whole life, you figure out like anytime you're like Sam's Club, Target, Dick's Sporting Goods, and you're going to anywhere south of like I don't know halfway down Houston Road, it's almost always quicker to jump because it's the freeway entrance is so it's exciting. It's exciting
all
information.
These chains that failed in Canada.
Plus, it gives you a chance to just romp.
I don't think we have a single one left.
Canadians don't like to buy in bulk. Except from
we do.
Canadian Tire.
We just like a good deal.
Yeah. So what's going on? Anybody do anything exciting?
I'm not working for the rest of the week.
Nice.
Although I might post.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I just need some time away from the desk.
Maybe you just need a new desk. I don't mean quitting your job. I mean like just physically getting a new piece of furniture.
I think you could use a new chair.
We just moved offices. I have a brand new desk and it goes up.
See, no complaining.
And it goes down.
See, there you go. And have you ever used it up?
No, because it hurts my back to stand for too long.
Yeah, and it did that with me too. Eventually, but you break yourself of it. It's exercising.
Well, no, eventually it'll break and I'll be back to surgery again. Well, to surgery.
I went all up.
You gotta have balance between the two.
Although one of my favorite things about it is when I go to someone's seat and I need help with my computer desperately right now. Okay, well, let me help. And they just sit in their chair. Well, I reach over and hit the trigger and the desk rises up to my level and I start helping them as the desk sits about there on them. Serves you right for not getting out of the seat.
Do you do that on purpose just to annoy them a little bit?
Well, if you want my help, you could offer me your seat so that I could sit down and help. Or
you're saying you say that they don't move. Okay, and there's not an extra chair right there for you to grab or anything. Okay.
So Jeremy,
and then I have to body check him out of the way to get it at the keyboard.
Just sit in their lap. They'll get the idea.
Apparently, that's frowned upon by HR.
Aw.
I don't fully grasp why. I mean, it's friendly, right? You give them a hug, you sit on their lap.
It's extra cushion.
Nope.
You say ho ho ho. It's all good. As a kid, I used to do this to strangers. I think I just killed him.
No. Hey, Josh came back.
Yeah, well, yeah. Only took me a few seconds. I had to find your futon. Who's talking to you? Your wife?
No.
Did your child want to
a real estate agent?
Oh.
I found you a really good deal on a different sex offenders.
11:30.
Nice. Are you gonna get in a non-size house now?
A non-what size?
A non-size house. And do a fully customized home theater, a fiber optic thing in your basement.
I missed something.
Nod had a giant house in North Carolina before he moved to Silicon Valley,
right,
where no one can afford to live.
Right. Yeah. Well, if you're gonna have a big house, do it where it's cheap. Burn.
And North Carolina's cheap.
I mean, if you can afford to have a big house where it's expensive, probably do that. But
fair.
So someone asked, let's see here, where was it at? Mr. King, what was the name of that chair company from the mailbag about gaming chairs?
It's probably Josh.
Josh
Noble chairs. Much higher quality than the X-Racer, 8K, all those other guys. This one is a pleather, but it's really super thick.
Wait, is it Corinthian?
What?
Is it Corinthian?
No, it is not Corinthian leather. But the foam is pretty solid, and so it takes a little getting used to because it's not soft. But once you do, it adds a whole bunch of support. You need to have the neck support and the back support cushions. Otherwise, it's just way too straight up and down in the back. But otherwise, build quality wise, it's all heavy metal down below. Good
Josh,
rollers.
Can you do a quick benchmark for me? I want you to put the chair as low as it can go and then as high as it can go.
Give me a sec. I gotta find the right thing.
Yeah. Reach
around.
Aw.
Okay, that's as.
I'll go as low as this one goes.
That's as low as it goes.
That's as low as this goes. The table's low.
Yeah.
And now my feet are hanging off, and they don't touch the ground.
That's pretty high for a gaming chair.
Okay, that's impressive.
That's the highest one I've seen.
Okay, hold on. Here's me now. See if I can get my head off the screen.
This is as low as it will go, apparently.
Okay, now that's just silly, Ryan.
That's.
I gotta move it.
Keep going. I want to see it fall off.
Now we can see the seedy underside of PC Perspective.
I love it. This is great. We should do the podcast like this more often.
Hey everybody, welcome to. I feel like I'm gonna fall over. It's so high. Hey everybody, welcome to the PC Perspective Podcast. We're here today.
Ken looks 10 years old.
He's the big man, Ryan Shrew.
Hi. I'm on the TV.
Yeah. That's really high. Is that as high as the table goes?
No, I don't think so. You're pulling the power strip now. Fine.
It's okay.
Currently.
Yeah, don't rip the cords off the floor.
That's as far as the table could go higher.
Ken, you're not an intern anymore. You don't have to do that.
Hello?
Yeah, you don't need a raise, Ken.
That's not true. Bare legs. We need a modesty
You've
panel.
got dirty knees, Ken.
Yeah. Tell me about it. Good thing we didn't go pantsless for this one, huh?
Wait. These are my legs.
Patreon? Yeah, come on.
This is the type of content you get for being a Patreon backer. You gotta chop off my knees.
That's a classic place to put that power bar. I love it.
On top of the stet. Time to leave, everybody. Bye.
All right.
Good night.
Good night, guys.
Catch y'all later.
Bye.
Watching.